Hey y'all, welcome to Can I Kick It episode 8 with a good friend Merkabah, also known as MercVersus with Planet Boom Bap. He used to be, now he's rolling with a new album, came out February 19th called The Messiah Complex. Had a really good conversation with this guy about, the state of the music industry from the hip hop perspective, as opposed to rock and indie rock, like what I'm more familiar with. But I love good hip hop, and I love mysticism, which is something that he's integrated totally. So I'm just going to go ahead and play one of his songs as an intro instead of doing my usual poem, because I was going to sit down and read what he rapped, but I couldn't write it down quick enough. So I'm just gonna play it for you.
Christianity usurped a tremendous amount of sun worship. Some of us are saying that this was a sun god turned into a Jewish man. This December 25th birthday was in fact the winter solstice. This is really in fact the birth of the god of light, God.
Hard-headed followers, intellectual dark web. This is the end of Grim Reapers, keeping the sharks fed. Sharp edge, saber-tooth, things are proof that the art's dead. Hearts bled, the floors will be painted dark red. That's the battlefield psychology of war hawks. Eliminate the bandits, stealing property like Boardwalk, a park place. It's not monopoly, they pour salt all in your game to blame you like it's obviously your fault. Nah, don't make apologies, no more talk. The industry is green acres, all I see is corn stalks. You want beef, wait, these carnivores will eat steak. Monumental contents, original, no remakes. Or digital false prophets and deep fakes with unproven theories, conspiracies of the deep state. These publishers are clearing houses, not a sweepstakes. We'll sweep you all away, start over with the clean slate. Speeding bullet racing through the barrel of a gun to penetrate your chest, releasing all the air that's in your lungs. You in the crosshairs, this cross I bear like carrying a ton. Your weaponry is weak, you're shooting arrows at the sun. I'm a speeding bullet racing through the barrel of a gun to penetrate your chest, releasing all the air that's in your lungs. You in the crosshairs, this cross I bear like carrying a ton. Your weaponry is weak, you're shooting arrows at the sun.
You're shooting arrows at the sun, I'm like a foul from the slums. On a straight and narrow path, we used to battle just for fun. I'm surrounded by a bunch of snakes that rattle with the tongue. Telling lies cause they wanna make us cattle when we're young. Should I run? Never ran, never will, never once. I'm the one, now it's time for us to show them how it's done. Let us rise and align with the stars in the skies, cause it's time that we shine and take back what is mine. I'm a sign when I came, spitting fire in a flame. Now I'm on a higher plane, I'm acquiring my name. All these lies trying to frame, you see them lying through their teeth. Always hiding underneath, cause they crying in their sheets. I'll be climbing in my peak when I'm riding through these streets. Hear the sirens from police, always fighting with this beast. Hear me rhyming to these beats like a lion when he eats. Cause the hunger is like thunder and like lightning when he speaks.
I'm a speeding bullet racing through the barrel of a gun to penetrate your chest, releasing all the air that's in your lungs. You in the crosshairs, this cross I bear like carrying a ton. Your weaponry is weak, you're shooting arrows at the sun. I'm a speeding bullet racing through the barrel of a gun to penetrate your chest, releasing all the air that's in your lungs. You in the crosshairs, this cross I bear like carrying a ton. Your weaponry is weak, you're shooting arrows at the sun.
Yeah, that's the fucking fire, dude. That song's called The Sun. Hey everybody, happy Sunday. It's Alex with Can I Kick It? Sitting here with an old friend, Merkabah. Merkabah is a hip hop artist out of Muncie, Indiana. I met him some years back at a pretty cool show up in Muncie. Do you remember where that was? It was at a brewery, right?
It was actually it was in Fort Wayne. Remember?
Yeah,
Trouble.
we were in Fort Wayne, but you guys were out of Muncie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You have a lot of experience playing shows there in Fort Wayne.
Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about Fort Wayne is, got to pardon my voice, but
No, you're right.
the thing about Fort Wayne is I was actually, this is going to open up a whole story
Good. Yeah.
about, I was part of a international hip hop organization called Zulu Nation, which is actually
I'm
since
familiar.
then a
Yeah.
lot of chapters have dropped out. You know, because there was some controversy surrounding Africa Bambaataa because he was allegedly a pedophilic
Right.
molester,
I've
right?
heard that. I didn't know if there was any truth to those allegations.
Yeah. I mean, it's still there. There's evidence enough to the point where a lot of chapters said, "Look, we deal with a lot of youth programs, so it's like that just tarnishes the brand, you know, when it comes to doing stuff like that." So a lot of us shut down our chapters, but as far as Zulu Nation goes, that organization is what gave the world what is known as hip hop culture. Even though it originated with Kool Herc as a DJ, um, the concept of the elements of hip hop culture, as far as graffiti and DJing and MCing and breaking, all falling under one banner that comes from Zulu Nation. So there were scattered chapters all over the world, and I happened to be the vice president of the Fort Wayne chapter. And after that, I started my own chapter for the 317-765 area code, which included Indy and Muncie. So I did a lot of, basically, to make a long story short, I did a lot of events in Indy and Fort Wayne during this period of time, which was 2011 to like 2014, 2015.
Yeah. So I caught you right at the end of that little cycle there.
Right. It was
Right.
as I was kind of phasing out of Zulu Nation, that's when I started doing the live band thing with Planet Boom Bap. So yeah, that's right.
Man, Planet Boom Bap. Man, I'll tell you this, dude. When I saw you guys playing, I was like, this is not your average hip hop thing where these dudes aren't getting on stage and talking about pussy and rims
Right,
and
right,
all this garbage,
right.
you know, that you hear that kind of just ruins the face of hip hop. When you guys came
Yeah,
on, I was like, man, this is something different. And I
yeah.
could feel it, bro. And as far as Zulu Nation, and you know, I'm a big fan of Tribe Called Quest, and I know that they were big with African Bambaataa there in New York. So,
Right.
how can you break it down a little bit of the history of the Zulu Nation, how it spread from New York? I didn't know it had become international.
Yeah, okay. Zulu Nation started. It was there were. I'm gonna be a little rusty on this, but these are our teachings. You know, I was actual chapter leader, but there were original Zulu kings. So it wasn't just founded by Africa Bambaataa. There were, I believe, 5 original Zulu kings, and they were breakers, dancers, and
Right.
Bambaataa was a DJ. Bambaataa started out as a black spade, which is a street gang in New York, and basically he was inspired by a movie Zulu about Shaka Zulu, about how he basically united tribes to form more of like
Yeah.
an empire. He was inspired by that to create like a format of unity. So he wanted to unify through music. And of course, this message since then has been corrupted due to, you know, all of the things that have gone along with him. But uh, there were other people involved too early on that were dancers, and eventually he had some DJs up under him, which are known as the Sons of Bambaataa, and these include Red Alert, and this is like a family tree of hip hop. Through
I've
Red
heard.
Alert, no, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, Red Alert was one of the guys in Tribe Called Quest's uncle, right?
No, Jungle Brothers. It's
Right. Okay.
Mike G, I believe. Um,
Yes. Yeah. I just watched a
so
documentary about Tribe not that long ago.
so you get the native tongues straight from Red Alert, pretty much. They're
Okay.
up under him. So that whole vein of hip hop, your De La Soul, the Bush Babies, even Most Def and Common to an extent, were like some of the later initiates into native tongues. They were like the last, you know, of the last. And Jungle Brothers, Black Sheep, Chi Ali,
Yeah, you
uh,
hear most Def talk about Africa quite a bit. You
right.
know, Africa being
You
bottom.
know,
Yeah.
and the thing is, there's a member of Jungle Brothers. His name is Africa Baby Bam. So he was like named after that. But I mean, you know, the thing is, I'm kind of like bitter about the whole, you know,
I'll
Bambaataa
bet.
thing
Yeah.
because I mean, it's like it's just a gross situation, you know,
Uh-huh.
and not just in the fact of the actual act, of course, that he is being accused of committing, but also the fact that the corrupting nature that it had on the organization worldwide, where you know most of the chapters have pretty much shut the doors. There's a few chapters are gathering under the banner Zulu Union. They're trying to reinvigorate the movement.
Yeah.
But
It's
basically
not,
what I was going to say.
it's not undoable. It's
Right.
definitely not undoable. And I'm speaking just outside of it, obviously
Right.
completely objective, but seems that it's possible that he could be under some sort of smear campaign by some higher forces. But was there evidence?
I don't think that is possible at this point. Early on, that was my belief because we heard some things a year or two before it actually hit the fan, to where people that we actually knew that were part of the organization, that were high-ranking people, said that they had witnessed certain things happening that were, way beyond unsavory and perhaps illegal. So it's like at that point, it's like I just had to,
Separate.
I love Zulu Nation and what it stood for, but it's like and the thing is about me is that I've never really officially laid claim to any religion or organization. I was very hesitant for precisely this reason, leadership. It's like if something that the leadership does is like destructive or corrupt, it kind of affects the face of the organization, and then you're left to pick up the pieces, or you got to do an explain campaign, to explain away all the negative before,
which is taken away from the fucking fundamental reasons why the group was brought together in the first place. And so ultimately it just becomes a giant distraction in the face of the message that you're trying to get across.
And due to this region that we're in, Indiana, it was already difficult for us to break through into the like youth organization type thing, because of the name and the presence of hip hop. Is sometimes, when you step into that world, sometimes people are hesitant in this particular region. I would say Indiana.
Absolutely.
So
I remember a lot of people at the show were kind of bobbing along, and they were into it, but there's just not a real hip hop scene unless it's the money hose and rims kind of thing. And I've seen that more often than not, and more times I'm just like, I'm gonna go get a beer, dude. I'm not even listening to that. But yeah, you guys had something special. So what's the template like? I mean, this is something that you could still carry on as like a working model for working with the youth, kids that want to get involved with hip hop. I'm doing something similar here where it's on a smaller level. It's not international, but I'm trying to get the music scene popping here in Vincennes, Indiana. So we rented out a fairgrounds, and we're dealing with the city. I'm learning about how to kind of, get your permits, your alcohol licenses, have some food trucks come out. We even got some fire throwers, just some alternative entertainment. So what with the Zulu Nation, did they come through and give you a working model of how to get events going, or was it more religious in nature? Or can you break us through the groundwork of what Zulu Nation actually was, like how it rolled out on a fraternal level almost?
Zulu Nation, it basically the template was they had teachings and they had rules. It was more religious earlier on, but they let go of the religious aspect before I ever joined. It was more about fact-based and dealing with science. And what we were encouraged to do in Zulu Nation was to embrace people of different races, cultures, nationalities, ethnicities. And when we had our monthly meetings, we would have people, like if you have a white member, if you have a black member, Asian member, a Latin member, they were to bring forth a lesson of their own personal culture, so that we could all absorb and appreciate their culture instead of all of us fitting into one category. So that was an enriching experience in the fact that, there was some equality that we dealt with, as far as it wasn't like that kind of
all black,
right, an all black movement, or all. Here's the thing that I say about hip hop, right? I say that, there are a lot of things. Something that people get misconstrued is that hip hop culture, the Black American experience, and the crime life of the underworld are not mutually exclusive.
No,
meaning that you can be a hip hopper and not necessarily be black or a criminal. You can be black and not necessarily be a hip hopper or a criminal. You can be a criminal without being hip hop or being a black person. You know, a lot of people have those all blended together that they think that they all coincide and it's all one package. And they do cross at certain roads, you know, like for instance, like graffiti is one of the elements of hip hop. No disrespect to graffiti writers, but there is a criminal element to certain graffiti writers, you know, not all of them, but there's a certain criminal element to the early on stages of graffiti. It was just tagging wherever, you know. And you know,
And
so and
you're
you know,
bringing up a lot of stuff that's not exactly the same, but that's a parallel to what I've got going on. And I play rock and roll, indie, whatever, and a lot of my friends do similar stuff. But growing up, I had this kind of mainstream media driven narrative that rock and roll and drugs and alcohol are,
synonymous.
yeah. And as I get older, that illusion's kind of been dispelled, like the spell's been broken. And
Right.
but a lot of kids that are coming up, they basically the drugs are getting in, and a lot of artists will use drugs. I mean, everybody knows that, Hendrix, Janis, all these people
Right.
that died from drug overdoses, but the two don't have to be together. It doesn't have to be drugs, sex, and rock and roll. I'm seeing a lot of, you see what I'm saying? Like there's definitely a parallel there between, with the hip hop, I guess it would be crime and gang banging, and those things don't have to go together. And also like, I got a friend in Colorado right now. I should hook you up with him. Sean Walls, I was in the Army with, and he started a socialist community center to bring the impoverished of the community together under actual community center where they get together. It's called Chinook. But he kind of made me realize that a lot of times the youth are out there just on their own, bro. Like they got nobody bringing them up. If they come from a bad family, they're just fucked, so that's interesting, man. You ever read anything about the Crips, like how it started as community restoration and progress? They were trying to defend their community.
I mean, a lot of street
organizations
organizations are like that. A lot of street organizations are like that. Like in Chicago, you've got the Black Keystone Nation and the Vice Lords and stuff like that. A lot of those started out as social clubs, community-oriented organizations. And the thing is that I just want to say about, as far as the whole crime aspect of it and like today's music. I don't, there was a song by either Peter Tosh or Bob Marley, I believe Peter Tosh, that you can't blame the youth, right? It's they're only going by what was handed to them. Not to say they're not responsible for wrongdoing when they do get caught doing crimes, but the thing is that what's being perpetuated. Not to sound like an old fogey or anything, but what's being perpetuated.
We're getting there, bro.
Yeah. It's prison culture. It's not really necessarily. It's the prison industrial complex. That old cliche. It's prison culture. It's not hip hop culture. It's like any culture that thrives off of. It's cool to. I'm doing this to your girlfriend, and I'm selling this dope, and you got to prove yourself by killing somebody. And respect is based on how much money you have.
They're promoting this kind of it's a jungle out there philosophy, and
well, it's not.
It is a jungle, but and also it's kind of promoting the idea that everything's not your fault, and then that gives you a license to mistreat people that are close to you or people that are in your community as a means to get up out of poverty, and
it's like here let me give you an example, right? And this is not singling anybody out,
right?
I'm just using an example.
Okay.
I remember a few years ago I saw an interview with a rapper named 2 Chainz.
Yeah.
And he was saying that for a 16-bar verse, I think he said he got somewhere in the ballpark of like $100,000 for 16-bar verse for a guest feature, like doing a verse on somebody else's project. And I'm looking at artists like, not even the 2 Chainz, like some of the more modern artists that are popular that make a lot of money. It's like, to me, all of these celebrities, some of them have community programs. I'm not saying they're not community involved, but it's like the turkey giveaways and the toy giveaways. It's like, bro, we were doing that and we're working class people. You can do much better than that. You know,
Yeah.
toy giveaways and turkey giveaways ain't gonna cut it anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a different age now. We got the stimulus and all that going on, but it's like in terms of doing for self, like doing for your own community, I think until it affects the ground level of people nationwide, of impoverished people and people that are downtrodden and disenfranchised, it's not, you know, all the stunting doesn't mean shit because that's just you and your family that you're looking out for. And for every one person that's stunting, there's 100 jealous people or broke people or
Yeah.
poor
Yeah.
people or envious people. And why would you want to encourage them to be, you know, to be violent? You know, it's like,
Stoking the fire, as it were. And
yeah, and that's what it's meant to be. You know, it's like, look what I got. All that I have to do is once I become popular and I make $500 million, I'm proof that you can do it too. So I've done my part. Sorry, guys. Sorry your life's fucked up. But by the way, look at my watch. Look at my chain. Look at my teeth.
yeah, yeah.
Look at my bitches.
We
You
need
know, it's
leaders.
like
We
that.
need real leaders, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially in these
Not necessarily
impoverished
business
areas.
leaders. Business leaders
Yeah.
is cool too. That's very important. But moral leaders.
Yeah.
Moral leaders.
Well, I mean, something that comes to mind that I've had to accept in my, I've been clean off of hard drugs for a year and a half now. I mean, I've almost lost everything, bro. And I'm not going to preach long or hard about this, but one basic idea that I had to distinguish was there's a big difference between a lot of shit that happened to me in my youth, you know, coming up hard as fuck was not my fault. But
Right.
you reach a certain point, it's your responsibility, dude. Nobody's gonna fucking fix it for you. Like we said, it's a jungle out there. So there's a big difference between fault and responsibility, man. And once you start accepting responsibility for your own well-being, you start to grow as a human being, as a man, you know, as an actual human man. Especially when you have children. A lot of people our age have kids they don't even see, you know,
Right.
and
Exactly.
that's the foundation of society is the family unit. And a lot of males don't have a good positive influence to base their lives off of, or you know, a template for their actions. But yeah, like I said, I'm not going to wax too hard about that, but it's a big distinction. We're just not seeing that in a lot of our pop culture idols, you know, like.
And I do commend and congratulate you on that for you making that step
Oh,
in
thank
life.
you. Yeah, I
No problem.
appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, really. I'm wish it would have happened a little earlier in my 20s, but hey, everything in good time. You know, God felt
Right.
fit to let it happen that way. However you want to, well, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, something came through for me. I just had to keep putting it out there, you know.
Right.
So, yeah, man. So, I was looking up your name. Your new album, Messiah Complex. What was that
Right.
like? Was that 12 songs? I think it
10.
was
Well, it's
10.
actually seven songs and three like interludes or yeah.
Right, kind of like some intro. Well, yeah, interludes between tracks. It
Yeah.
was amazing, man. I mean, I'm surprised I haven't seen it blasted more out there because you're an amazing lyrical artist, dude. Do you do you make your own beats?
On this one, I do appreciate first and foremost your compliment.
No problem, man.
And and I am working on in the process of trying to get it spread out a little bit more. I've got some promotional things in the works, but we'll see how that
Pretty fresh,
happens.
really, right? That came out February 12th, right?
February 19th.
19th. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as the production, yeah, Medicine Music is my production brand. I did all the beats on this one, which is it's a new thing to me, but it's an old thing too. When I first started taking rap seriously, I was also making beats at the same time because all the rappers that I looked up to that I thought were the illest were the ones that can make beats. Like in particular, Large Professor, who's best known for being Nas calls him like his idol. He's from Flushing, Queens. Large
Okay.
Professor is a monster, you know, as far as beats and rhymes, and he's well balanced. You know, there's a lot of people that can do that, or like they call them triple threats, people that can DJ, produce, and rap. But I don't really DJ. I tampered with it when I was young. It was one of the first things I actually got into as a youth when I was interested in hip hop when I was young, real young.
Like
But I
sampling and
never.
stuff. Yeah.
Well, no, like I mean, like actually trying to scratch and turntablist type
Oh,
stuff.
okay. Old school. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I rapped over my own beats was let me see, 2007, I think. So it's been a long time. I've been working with other producers. I had a guy named Spearman from New Zealand that did most of my beats at one point, and then I had Falling Down from New York. He was kind of Wu-Tang affiliated. He's the one that blessed me with the opportunity to have Inspector Deck on my last album of
Yeah,
Wu-Tang Clan.
that was
So
sick, bro. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a big moment for you for sure. Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, so I mean, your music's obviously the beats are simple, but they hit. You know, I really
Yeah.
like. There's almost a classic hip hop style to them that you're sort of bringing back. I remember thinking that when I saw you Planet Boom Bap play in
Mhm.
Fort Wayne, I was like, man, this is like old school hip hop a little bit. But then there was
Right.
also like elements of soul to it. There's a little bit of soul, like maybe just a dash of funk in the background, and I was pretty excited to hear it, man. And with this new album, you went all the way. Uh, so what? I mean, are you still working with Planet Boom Bap? Is that just a side project, or
Well, the thing about Planet Boom Bap was it all started as an idea to I sat down one day and I've been writing and recording and producing music off and on for like 20 years. So
yeah,
I have accumulated all these verses, these actual verses that I thought were great verses, like lyrical pieces, that I wanted to be heard. And it's like they were old recordings. So I figured I would get like, wouldn't it be cool if I got a band to play like some
an
old
actual
school.
band? Yeah,
Yeah, I've always wanted to perform with a band ever since I was young, and I used to listen to records when I was very young, like grade school age. I always wanted to perform with a band, especially when I became a rapper. And then, this is before the Roots even came out. But one of the
that's
first
funny because
well-known,
that's what I was about to say. I was like, I can't think of many bands that have or hip hop groups that have done that other than Roots.
what
And
one was is from the old school. There was a group that had a band that not a lot of people knew about, which was Sonic, and
what?
they're
Say
old
that
school.
again. Say that again.
Sonic,
Okay. Well,
and one of the members of Sonic went on to become a member of the Gravediggers with RZA.
how you spell that?
STETSA Sonic, SONIC.
STETSA.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Never heard of that, but I'm
They-
always down for some good new tunes, man.
one of the more popular songs they had back in the day was a song called "Talking All That Jazz." You could probably
Okay.
find that on YouTube. They had a video for it and everything.
Bumped that a little bit. It's got some new speakers, man. They're hitting. So
Yeah, yeah.
talking all that jazz. All right. So, something that I've found when creating music is it's always better when you can bring in a group of people and everybody has, classic teamwork formula. You have one person who's strong in this area, one person, and I've talked to your drummer, Lamada, quite a bit over the years. Like when I was that day I saw you guys play, I was like, man, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start interviewing bands because I've tried to create my own stuff, but I don't put enough time into it to perform really and get the results I want. So how can I add to this music scene? And when I saw you guys, it's like, that's it. It like all became clear to me that night. And I was like,
Right.
I think I ended up talking to you guys on the phone, but I talked to Lamada and it's nice to have well, not only is it easier to create with a group of people, uh, it makes you feel a sense of community,
Right.
and that goes back to your Zulu stuff and, these other things. Like it's good to be a part of a community. And I think a lot of people are missing that. They don't know they're
Yeah.
missing that, but so how do you see yourself going forward with Planet Boom Bap? Is that done or do you
Okay.
have other projects lined up?
This is a whole story to unravel. So this is
Okay.
a good talking point. Uh, the thing with Planet Boom Bap, see, the thing about me as an artist is I've always wanted to surround myself with like minds, and I've always been a person that liked to focus on helping others in the music community. Like if I see someone with talent, I want them to have exposure at least as much as I'm having, which, it's not, I mean, I can't do much for them because my exposure is minimal. It's just like some underground stuff. But if I see people with talent that are getting no exposure at all or hesitant about, performing, I want to be like, let's do this show or let's do this song or let's get the studio or, I try to encourage people a lot with their talent. But I noticed that like there's been a few groups I've been in. The most successful group that I was in is called Bedlam Brethren. It was me and my boy Udi from he's from Harlem, New York. Bedlam Brethren. It was a duo. Me and him and the dude Spearman that I was talking about earlier from New Zealand made the beats. And we released an album called Black Feather Messengers. And that was like one of my most successful releases that got a lot of accolades overseas. But as far as Planet Boom Bap, how I fell upon that was Lamont. I call him Lamont for short.
Okay.
Lamont was always, I'd go to his house and hang out with him, and I always heard him playing the drums and stuff. And I had another friend that played bass, that a longtime friend. And then I had another, the keyboardist, I had to actually go searching for him, but I had friends that played instruments. And I thought, let's like try to do some rehearsal sessions. Like we did some long and hard rehearsal sessions. I mean, I'm talking about hours, like early on when we were trying to formulate things, we would be in there for like, do it again. Let's run through that again, like 7 times, 8 times. And that's the part that I love. But when I thought
the work of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And perfecting it. But when it got to the point of a lot of relationships, when it comes to, music business is music and business. And music is emotional and business is logical. And sometimes it's hard to make a transition.
Right brain, left brain, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah. Bicameral mind, yeah.
And sometimes it's hard for someone to make a transition from all emotion and free flowing creative energy to, okay, it's time to, this is the job part. This feels like a job now. We got to sit down and plan things and make things, happen, And to be honest, I'm not trying to make myself, I was the leader of the group. I put the group together. I did most of the social media promotion, most of the name of the album and all the things, all the concepts of the songs. The fact that I wanted different genres on different songs, which songs that we performed as our set, it was like a mixture of old school, like we did some Black Sheep beats. I think we did a Tribe Called Quest interlude. We did a lot of remakes during our live set. We did like the Juicy by Biggie, the Mtume Juicy Fruit. I created a song based around that with Brandy. And it got to the point where when it came to the business side of it, I just got really burnt out and frustrated with the whole thing because it was like the management thing is not, I guess I'm not good at it. So
that would entail you wearing so many different hats.
Oh, dude.
At once. And it just rips you apart, dude.
Man.
We're throwing this concert in June, and it's my first time putting together an event. And like I said, we're going to the board, and we're going to the board of the city to get permits and all that. And I wanted to get my music shit together and play at the show. I was like, hey, this would be a good opportunity to plug myself, but no, I'm not going to. It's too involved, man. And that, maybe there is a point, like Puff Daddy or whatever the fuck he goes by now. He seems to do pretty well at that, or he did. Like where he's doing he's pumping his business thing at the same time, running a label and pumping out music. But this
once you become a mogul, you have staffs of people that can handle.
Yeah, we ain't got that.
Whose ass needs to be wiped at any given time. So it's like my thing is that, not to say that I was the ass wiper, but it was like it's like having 4 to 5 pots cooking on the stove, and it's like you gotta watch them and be like, okay, we're gonna do this. Hey, you got this together? Hey, can we do this? Okay, we got an interview over here, and let's do this. And
you gotta finish all the dishes at the same time so you can serve the meal hot. Yeah,
exactly. And then on top of that, it's like the payoff just wasn't worth it at the end of the day, because I've been a single father for many years. A lot of people may not know that about me. I mean, I'm not like some superstar or well-known celebrity or anything, but I'm a single father, and I sometimes I would think I'd be like, I'd rather be at home with my sons.
Yeah.
I love music, but it's like the headache. If we had a manager that wasn't me, and I could just go out there and perform,
do what you're supposed to be doing, yeah,
right. Yeah. But it was more than that, and I think maybe that's partly my fault, for me expecting people that aren't trained in any management capacity to help share. I mean, in a music management capacity. I don't mean like in other fields. You know,
Yeah.
people can management in music is so different because there's so many egos, attitudes, and it's just
Oh
creativity
hell,
comes with the ego.
absolutely. Yeah. Every venue you go to is a different set of egos that you're coming to
Right,
blows with, really.
right,
It's
right.
and fuck, I mean, every show I've gone to that my friends were playing at, totally different environment. So you have to be super flexible when dealing with, booking shows. You don't know what you're going to run into, and then you're trying to
Right.
do that and keep your lines in your head for. So really, like, people don't talk about this. Like, you play a rock show, you've got, I don't know, but it's probably way less bars, like actual verses, to remember when you're playing rock and roll music. And
Right.
then you got some main hooks and choruses. But with hip hop, I would say it's on average twice as many bars to remember. So you're trying to do that while juggling the cut of the door.
Merch.
Yeah. Oh God, don't even get started on merch. That seems like a losing battle sometimes, but it's
Moving in
something.
equipment, moving out equipment. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like, I mean, come on, it's not like people that, that have working class people know what it is to work hard, but it's like
Yeah.
just the mental and emotional strain it puts on someone can be sometimes unbearable when you have to go home and you work at home too. When you're like,
Yeah. When you're a father.
you're,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're the one that takes care of you know, your children 100% of the time. And I commend those that are co-parenting because that's a great and beautiful thing. But I was in a situation where I got full parental rights to my sons
Mhm.
years ago,
Yeah.
and it's a blessing. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but it's like the weight of all of these responsibilities sometimes wear you down. And
Shifting
maybe I wasn't built for it, but that's why
shifting
I'm
gears,
doing a
man.
solo project.
Yeah. I co-parent, so I understand, dude.
Yeah,
Here's something weird that I'll drop for you. Like, I have two children with two different women, and
right.
I'm done. By the way, that's it.
Same here. Same
I'm
here.
about to get snipped pretty soon. To be honest with you, I don't want to do it, but it seemed like a smart thing to do. As a side note, but my when my son's with me, which is like every other weekend, and my daughter's with me a little more often than that, I go into dad mode, and it's a period of adjustment when they
Right.
get here, man. And by the time I'm in full dad mode, where I'm operating on as if I were a full-time dad, they go back to their moms, and I'm
Right.
left, and I'm living two different lives, man. It's
Right. I
bizarre.
feel you.
I can't imagine being a full-time parent trying to do all this art stuff I do, painting,
I
all this
almost
stuff.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you what it's like. It's like it's kind of like, and this might sound a little corny or weird, but I grew up reading comic books. I have literally around 1,000 comic books in storage that I've collected over my life.
I've got
And
some I'll mail to you, dude. I've got a bunch
really,
that they're just sitting here, old Superman, and we'll talk after the podcast, and
all
I'll
right,
show
all
you
right,
some of them, send them to you because they're just sitting here collecting dust, dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
During COVID, I kind of got like reinvigorated in that. I bought a few off of Amazon. I haven't bought them in years, but I was like, let me grab this, just something to do and something to read and look
Little
at. And
hobby,
I
yeah.
appreciate the art. Yeah, I appreciate the
Yeah.
art. I was an actual I used to actually draw when I was young. That was like my
Yeah.
first passion was hand drawn art. But I forget what the question was. Oh yeah. What I was about to say is as far as comparing the switching of the roles of
Right.
musician
Yeah,
and
exactly.
parent, the way I
If
look at it, the reason why I brought in the comic book reference was it was almost like the weekend is like superhero time when you get on stage
yeah.
and
Oh, the
that's
Clark Kent thing. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it felt like. It's like it's almost like I'm not Merkabah or anything like that when I'm at home. It's dad.
Did you
So
did you ever feel after playing shows and mixing it up with other artists and being involved in these community things, and then you go home, what was it ever like anticlimactic? Like, I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, we had a ball last weekend, we played a good show, and I don't know, Evansville or whatever, and then
Right.
you come back home and it's just like wah wah wah, like the party's
No,
over and it's back to the
I
grind on Monday. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I was kind of the reverse for me. I would have more fun throwing a football in the park with my kids. It would be more wholesome and enriching to me.
Yeah, ultimately,
Than,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, than doing the music. And that's not to say I didn't love doing the music, but it's like to me, it was like there's so many. Uh, Dude, it's like having stepping your foot into the beginning of uh, like what I'm trying to say is I can't imagine what it's like in like I performed in New York one time at a Zulu anniversary on stage in New York, but I mean I can't remember what the scene. I can't imagine what the scene would be like in New York and LA from what I've just got a little taste of in like
Yeah.
indie or it's just like all of the like the promoters and the bullshit. It's just like I don't see. I mean, the people that do actually make it through, it's like they've got to have some kind of like ironclad
Battle
mentality
scars. Yeah.
or tons of money, you know,
Well,
because that's
you got so many people, I imagine, coming at you if you have raw talent and drive and all these things that make a successful musician.
right.
You got people, well, not, it's not even talking about the women, but just people coming to suck off, that there's just
Psychic
life force.
vampires,
Yeah.
psychic
I
vampires.
totally believe in that, dude. And call me crazy if you want, but I've met people that are just sucks.
Do you, do you,
They just drain you. Yeah.
I have a philosophy on this.
Let's hear it.
It's not very complicated. It's just once I say it, you'll be like, I pretty much thought that same way, probably most likely.
Yeah.
Uh, it's like it's just the whole right brain and left brain thing. You have the artisans, and then you
Mhm.
have the opportunists, right? The opportunists think logically in numbers, and then
Mhm.
the artists think emotionally. And it's like sometimes it's hard, like I said earlier, to get the group to be like business like or think business wise. But the opportunists, it's like you sit there and think, man, if I had somebody else handle this for me, like a manager or something, and then I could spend all my time creating. But who can you find to trust? Because a lot of the people that have those logical management minds are opportunists themselves. I mean, I've witnessed dudes that will. I've literally with my own eyes seen crazy stuff as far as because I got right there on the cusp of you know record label deals and seeing the workings of how that goes. And it's like you've got promoters out there that will take an artist that has somewhat of a following, and they'll find somebody in the local town like your town, for instance, Vincennes, there might be an up and coming rapper that grew up listening to name it, Q-Tip.
Yeah.
And this guy in the middle, this middleman would be like, hey, I got a verse. I got you. I could get you a verse for Q-Tip for, I don't know, $1,000, right?
Yeah.
And then he'll give Q-Tip because he has a relationship with Q-Tip. He'll give Q-Tip, hey, I got you this guest feature for 700, or I got you this guest feature for 600,
Slide
and
off
he'll
the
take that
top.
money.
Yeah.
That's his finder's fee. Like he'll even hide how much he's making off of it for one, and then for two, he'll sell that same verse once he gets that verse from Q-Tip to 10 different people and charge them each $400 or $500 a piece.
And you're
You know
talking
what I'm
about
saying?
creative content here. So this is almost like little pieces of your soul, when
Yeah,
you're
that's why
creating this stuff. And so these people are literally like feeding off the top.
vampires, man, vampire.
Yeah, empire.
Straight
uh
up.
yeah, man. So what did you come away with a bad taste in your mouth for it
Dude,
recently?
I was telling you, like,
Yeah.
how I look at it is like, I'm a little. There's a part of me, I ain't gonna lie, that's jaded, that's disenchanted, that's disillusioned by the whole thing. But it's like that's not gonna stop me from creating.
Nah.
And
You can do it
I don't.
from the internet's great now. I mean, you can
Yeah,
self-publish for the most part. I mean, everybody, there
that's a
it's
blessing.
interesting you were talking about before I forget, the right brain, left brain thing. I was just reading this declassified document from the CIA about Project Stargate where they had people going into what do they call that? Hemisync. So your left and right brain are activated at the same time in a loop which
Right,
allows you to astrally project, onto the
right,
astral plane this is pretty far out stuff, but it's cool.
Out of
So
body experience.
yes. So whenever whichever side of your brain, I think it's your left brain that controls the logic and the business and the opportunism, and the numbers. Through hypnotism, you shut that side down and you go directly into the creative, artistic part of the brain. This is like CIA. They've studied it, and when they can shut that part of the brain down, they go directly into hypnosis, and you go into this creative. Some people say the pineal gland is like sort of your portal into the spiritual dimension. This is pretty far out stuff for the people, the people who are listening, but most of my listeners are gonna probably know about it already anyway. But you're talking about that, but if you can have both operating at maximum, in balance, then that, Freud said when you pray, you're actually just sending messages down to your subconscious and creating a God loop. So you're sending messages down to that part of yourself that's always and ever present since you're born, that soul that's driving the car of your body. And you're sending direct messages to it and planting seeds for further manifestations. So in a way, you're like hypnotizing yourself with repetition, hard work, healthy eating habits, and sleep patterns. And I don't know. I think that there was probably a point in music history, man, where the government, or I say the government, I hate using that, but it's sort of a blanket term. Some force, people that work in the CIA, some rogue dark elements came in and saw the musical movement, the artistic movement, the little renaissance, if you will, of the 60s and early 50s with civil rights and all these different things. They saw this happening and they're like, we got to throw some kind of stick in the spokes here. So they started pushing the drug thing really hard. And so music and art get wrapped up with these drugs, and it's anesthetizing people's logical brains and focusing too much on the artistic side. So they're feeding the ego of the artist, and then as a result, it's easier to control. I've heard a lot of stories about like Jimi Hendrix. His manager used to work for MI6, the spy agency over in England. And once Jimmy was talking about switching managers, that's when he turned up dead. And then Jimmy's girlfriend at the time was trying to tell people, but nobody listened. She ended up dead from apparent suicide from jumping off the top floor of the record studio. There's the social vampirism. This dude had like over 200 kills in Vietnam before he ended up being Hendrix's manager. So it's easy. Artists are easy targets is my main point of that. Like, especially if they have a penchant for daydreaming and drug use. So I'm working hard to separate drug use and rock and roll, baby, from my artwork. There's a world that I'm envisioning that I think you do too. And I'm glad to see it, where the young artist is also taught responsibility and in the most wholesome sense of the word, being a good father. So these two they're not mutually exclusive. These things can go together. Sorry I went on long there, man. But
no, it's all good. I'm listening.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I made a note of this. We have, so your name Merkabah is Hebrew for chariot. What did you find that in a specific book, or is it just something that stuck out from religious studies?
Well, there's the name I used to go by was MercVersus.
I saw that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And I went by MercVersus ever since 2007. Before that, I was called Deadbeat Poet. That was my name. And MercVersus meant, it was in a shortened version of merciless versus merciful. So there goes that balance again.
Yeah.
So basically, I could be either merciless or merciful. And it's an internal battle, because I look at it like the mind is divine, the body is mundane, and the battle between the mind and the body is where your emotions come from. So if you can control your emotions, then you're going to be in a good space. That's the key to balance. you know, and I'm still struggling with that. I think most human beings are, because we have instinctual drives that we have to overcome in order to do that. And that's not always easy to overcome. And we have, you know, anger and fear and sadness and things like those
Yeah.
that makes them from that and is wrapped up in that. But so I started using, because, you know, Merc, everybody just called me Merc as a nickname, Merc this, Merc that. And I, you know, I had become familiar with the term Merkabah. There's a form of mysticism called Merkabah mysticism, chariot mysticism. And it involves, in the Bible, there's different instances where a chariot appears, a divine chariot. It's Ezekiel's wheel is an example of the divine chariot. Elijah was taken to heaven in a chariot of fire. That's the Merkabah. And so how I look at it is the Merkabah is the vehicle of the divine. So that's why I decided to call myself Merkabah. Also, it's just, you know, a play off Merc. You take Merc and you add Abba to it. Abba means father, and I just told you I'm a
Oh
father.
wow, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that all
Also,
just
Merc,
that fell into you like spiritually almost.
also, and then myrrh, frankincense, and gold was brought to Jesus. Myrrh is the oil to anoint kings, and Kaaba is the cube. It means cube in Arabic. That's the
The
that's
black cube. Yeah.
the temple that the Muslims rotate around, like it's the
Yeah.
sun. So center
Wow.
of attention, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Trying to get that golden chariot going. Yeah, I remember reading in Ezekiel about the chariot of fire had eyes all over it, like the seraphim. You know, it was cool. A lot of people liken it to a UFO almost.
Right.
Pretty
A
amazing
lot of people
stuff.
compare those. Yeah, compare those.
Yeah.
The Merkaba could be considered also a uh, a UFO. A what are they calling them these days? A UA
I, UDA or something. I can't remember.
something
It's a
new.
UFO to me, dude. I'm old
UFO to me
school.
too. Yeah.
uh, yeah, dude. I had this little thing that I was doing called serotonin seraphim, and seraphim's the seven. That was one of my alter egos I was using for writing hip hop back in the day, but I kind of gave up the hip hop thing. But it's interesting. So I listened to his song Shim. Okay, I'm having a hard time
Seraphim,
saying it. What do I?
Seraphim is a class of
Angel,
angels,
the
right?
highest
Seraphim and
class. Yeah.
cherubim and you know,
Yeah, it's 7 wings and covering all the wings are covered in eyes, and all the wings cover
right.
up its
Holy,
essence.
holy, right?
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, 7's a really important number. Also, Chariot is a really important card in tarot. It's one of the major arcana cards, and
So
the meaning is victory. Pretty much, it means you're going into some endeavor, uh,
mhm.
a battle, as it were, a spiritual
War
battle
vehicle,
or a vehicle. Yeah,
war vehicle,
war vehicle. Okay, that makes sense.
war vehicle.
Hebrew and Greek and Roman all kind of
You said
clash.
something. You just said something that kind of struck me though. Could you rewind a little bit what you just said? You said seraphim, and you said the highest class of angels, and you start talking about the tarot, and you said something else in between there. Something caught me, and I was going to say something about it, but
The
I don't know.
I was saying that this I don't know, man. Let's think here.
Maybe I'll think of it here in a few. But
So I was saying that that's a major arcana
yeah, well, I think it was
card.
after that. Might have been after that, but
Yeah, the
we'll,
chariot's about victory. It's about going into a battle, a spiritual battle, and having a means to rise above it and
right.
conquer it on the,
Oh yeah, I know what it is now. It's the seven. Symbology of
yeah,
seven is
number 7, yeah.
Messiah and complex both have 7 letters, and that's my year of birth was 77.
Far yeah. There's something to gematria. I don't know if you ever
Yeah,
looked into gematria, but
yeah.
there's
Sacred
you want to
geometry.
you want to hear something crazy about me? So I got into and I do this all with a loving heart, so it's not, I don't feel like I'm venturing into the realm of demonic or satanic bullshit, because I hate apathy. That sounds redundant. I hate apathy. No, but I'm not cool with people not caring about each other. Anyway, I got into tarot. I don't need to qualify my spiritual interests, really. I don't know why I'm doing that. But I got into tarot cards, and I started doing my natal chart, like where the sun, moon, and my rising sign. And I figured out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. I'm sorry, I had some kind of mishap. I'm sorry about
No,
that.
it's fine. Did you hear what I was saying?
No, could you repeat, please? I
Yeah, no,
completely
it's fine.
something
It's totally
happened with my
cool.
headphones.
So I got into some spiritual mysticism, if you will,
With
even some,
Gematria?
yeah, a little bit. But I started getting into a couple of years back when I was still heavy into drug use. I got into tarot cards and some symbolism that I picked up from like Solomon's Keys,
Oh yeah,
and
I'm familiar.
really cool stuff, interesting stuff that it permeates the psychology of culture.
I
Really,
mean, I dealt with the tarot for some years. I mean, I haven't done it recently, but I just have a book over here about the tarot that I used to actually read tarot myself. I've done it for a few years, but
yeah, I do it pretty heavily now, and I follow a few good readers, but it's mostly just a mirror to reflect on. It's almost as if someone else, but it's you looking at yourself based off of these symbols on a card that have archaic meaning. You know, like
right.
the symbols on the cards reflect different aspects of your personality. So as these cards come up, you think, how could this apply to my life? And it's really just art. It's just religious art in a way that has a deep Jungian psychological meaning, and then you're able to reflect on different motives in your life and different aspects of a relationship that you might not have thought of before. Like it's
The archetypes.
archetypes. Yeah, really, really interesting stuff. I forgot where I was going. Oh, so I got into natal charts. That's what I was saying. My sun is in Pisces and my moon is in Pisces, and I was like, most people don't have the same sun and moon sign. You have your sun, moon, and rising sign primarily on your natal chart. So I look into it, and I was born on St. Patty's Day, which is coming up on Wednesday. I'll be 33 years old. This is a pretty fucking cool number. You know, it's
Right.
age of Jesus. But I was born on a solar eclipse. I found out. So right, I was born at 9:22 at night, but like right next to my time zone, like over Hawaii and down almost to where I'm at. Like it missed me by just a little bit, but I was born on a solar eclipse. So my sun and my moon are both in Pisces, and then my rising signs in Libra. And I mean, it made a lot of sense because my mom, we had struggled to have a good relationship, and she tried to keep me from my dad. So if you look at the sun as a masculine uh, thing, like most people do, and the moon,
is feminine.
yeah. So the moon's blocking out the sun.
Right.
That's exactly what happened in my life, and
that's crazy.
It's wild, dude. And there's definitely something to it, but ultimately, you should just be a good person. Yeah, you know, yeah, it's silly, dude. We just like, I think artists just like to wax a little fantastic, but yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm really into it, man. Like analyzing things and picking things apart and studying things. I mean, that's to me, that's what life's about.
A specific lyric that stuck out to me was every night I go outside and stare at the moon, see my ancestors buried in tombs.
Yeah.
And something, it hit me hard because when I was a kid, my grandma died when I was like 6 or something, my first experience with death. And I used to go outside and look at the stars and like imagine that she was one of them. And I even had dreams about it where she was like fly down from a star and like let me know everything was all right, and then fly back up and start dancing with the other stars. That was one of the only dreams I remember from being a kid. So that stuck out to me. And that song was, okay, I'm gonna butcher it. I'm gonna yeah, that. And then so I looked up what that meant. Can you go into that? Let's say it again for everybody. Shim Ha Farash. It's the hold on, let me try to remember this. That word is the obscene name of God, right?
Actually, I think it's been a while.
Yeah, that was really cool. I got into a rabbit hole reading about that, but Shem HaFarash is from what I gathered through Google, and I don't trust Google half the time, but Shem HaFarash it's one of the names of God.
But it's one of the names of God. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like an obscene name, they say. So,
well, you know, there's something called have you ever heard of the concept of tetragrammaton?
A little bit, yeah.
It's there's a lot of things dealing with when it comes to Hebrew mysticism, which is what Merkabah mysticism is, that have to do with the names of God. Like some Orthodox Jews won't even say the name of God. They'll say Hashem, which means the name. What's that? I can't see.
Mystical Kabbalah. You can see it.
Oh, the Kabbalah. Yeah, exactly.
It's a tough fucking read, dude. But
very complicated.
oh, you just have to spend 15 years to figure just this one book. But you just pick out a little bit here and there, like the Tetragrammaton is sort of a summoning of the powers of God, the healing powers of God, or so. It's
right.
Yeah, and it describes the seven houses of angels, and just the fact that you were able to assimilate some mystic Christianity and all the basic foundation for all Abrahamic religions into hip hop, dude. That's an original fucking angle. The only person I've heard do that comes to mind, I'm sure there's more that you know, but I listen to a lot of rock and roll. But you like Damian Marley did some stuff with Nas that was almost prophetic, dude. That song was called Patience. God, that song is fucking heavy hitting.
Distant Relatives album.
Yeah, that was sick. I mean, he was talking about Egyptian mummies and about breaking down the past in a way that's not obscured and occulted, and kept from us. And I think a lot of the people that know about this stuff know it could be super helpful for a lot of people, and they keep it from the public. Right. So to bring this stuff out, because occult just means hidden, right?
Exactly. And you know what? I was just having a conversation with one of my friends the other day about we were talking about schooling, right? And we were like, and I had thought this for a long time, but I was like, it helped me bring it forth in the conversation. The fact that I was already, hip to this was, how come in like school they don't teach us things that actually apply to our life, like how to balance the bank account,
taxes,
or how to fix your car, or how to do taxes, or how to start a business. It's like, why wouldn't you arm us? Because we're trained to be worker bees, and we have to be a cog in the machine. That's what we're meant to be. We're put out there to plug into the machine and keep the machine running.
And if you go to nicer areas like, say, Carmel, North Indy, their schools do teach that stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And they don't talk about it. Yeah. Well, but then you get into my little small town, Vincent's, my public school, and you could float by. They wouldn't even call your parents if you skipped school for a month at a time. You could float by. And it makes you wonder, like, is this just irresponsibility on the part of academic, what are the people called that run the school? Superintendents? Yeah. Is it, are they a part of the secret fraternal organizations in most communities that this isn't an agenda, or is it the system itself, the way that the system's structured, that's just built that way and it's become a normalization? Or is there actually a force at work that wants to keep public school stupid so that we end up in factories?
I've had this discussion with friends also, as far as like varying levels of conspiracy theorists. It's like, to me, if you and I have a conversation, if you like, this is a conspiracy. It's public, so it's not really a conspiracy. But our conversation we had that led to this podcast interview was a conspiracy. It's two people conspiring to make something happen.
Yeah.
So imagine what decisions we would be making with each other if I owned a $500 million company and you owned an $800 million company. Our secret discussions are going to affect a lot more people, So I think that people like that are in high-ranking, powerful positions in society can't help but interact with each other in a way that some of us might be considered, we might consider kind of conspiracy-ish, because it's affecting working class people and middle class people in ways that may be detrimental to them sometimes, but it's all, at the end of the day, it's all about this right here.
Profit. And it trickles down. So they don't even have to. That's a really interesting point, and that's kind of where I lean, is that their intentions are profit. So that trickles down into their actions So intention's a wickedly powerful thing.
Mhm.
It trickles down into the people that you affect. So if you have ill intent or something that's considered less than holy or a selfish, motive, then it's going to trickle down into the community that you're affecting. So that it makes a lot of sense. So it's not an actual, they're not sitting down having actual conversation, say, let's make these public school kids that are lower income,
Right.
like,
Right.
let's hold them down. No, it's their overall attitude towards life that trickles down and then
Exactly.
disseminates
But
into the public school. Yeah.
But then when the people rise up and they say, hey, what about this, this, and this? That's when that mentality comes forth. It's like, fuck you guys, pretty much.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
it's like, it might not be necessarily, it's just like same thing with music. Like all these rappers that have like the materialism and stuff, they might have a degree of knowledge of self or education or community activist in them. But when it comes down to it, when you're surrounded by all of this temptation, it's like it's hard to fight. And I have a song called God of Gods that addresses that. It's off my last album. It's the last track on the last album. And it basically says that basically the higher you rise up through the socio-economic ladder, the less, in the chorus it says this, the less rules you have, because you don't have to answer. You have to answer less and less people. So where do your morals go? That's why I say absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
If you have no basically like politicians, for instance, right? Their whole job is to create laws to keep us in check, but the lawmakers are not themselves kept in check. So what kind of system do we have here? Really?
A hypocritical system. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So
But yeah, I didn't mean to go past that Shimham Farash comment. Yeah,
no, it's fine. Yeah.
No, the whole term Shimham Farash, it deals with the Kabbalah and the names of God, and basically that was like a Ouija board type experience in that song and video, talking about basically what I was addressing in that song was being paranoid. It was like crossing the borderline between paranoia to schizophrenia. It's somebody that you get to a point sometimes in life where it's like you may think things are what they're not, and it may be true, but it's just the thought of being in that abyss in between knowing and not knowing sometimes can be scary to a lot of us. And when you have to fill in the blanks, sometimes we can come up with things, or we can find very shocking things, sometimes.
And the answers are often, Occam's razor, man. Things can be broken down to their simplest form, but I mean, simplicity.
That's what the answer might be more scary than the conspiracy.
Yeah, that's true, man. Yeah, I think that was my favorite song of yours that I've found so far. I like to give songs a little time to breathe in my brain before I really peel back all the layers of it. And your music has layers, and you're rapping so fast that a lot of it you're on to the next one before you have time. This is something I've come to the conclusion to lately, is your attention is the most valuable currency you have. So whatever you put in front of you, you're actually paying attention, Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. And a lot of people are spending most of their time doom scrolling on Facebook, looking for shit to be outraged about. Then I don't think they're really looking for things to be outraged about. I think
I got a philosophy on that too, my
social
friend.
media. Yeah. Lay it down.
Let me tell you my social media philosophy, right? Okay. Here's what I said. I've been saying about social media. I used to call Facebook the devil's hotline, but social media can often successfully destroy the filter between the thought and the expression. And that's the way it works in both directions. Like you can sometimes absorb, look at something online and experience it before you have the chance to decide, should I be watching this? Like I just watched something traumatic. Should I really watch that? Like that fucked up my whole day. It's like it's just thrown in your face.
Put you in a fight or flight mode. Yeah.
That's the nature of society. It's like some people are constantly. I had this discussion with my girlfriend actually. Have you ever heard of Salt Bay?
Oh.
The chef. He's a chef. I don't know where he's located. he might be in New York or something, but he's a very lavish chef, right? And I think he's, if I'm not mistaken, he's from the Middle East. I could be mistaken. Uh,
I'll check it out
but
afterwards.
famous for sprinkling salt like this with his elbow out on his food. And he does this thing where there's a couple videos circulating on the internet where women are like, he's getting flirtatious with them, and basically it's their boyfriend is right there, and it's like they're having a debate whether it's disrespectful or not. Like he'll come out and he'll do some. It's like a hibachi. It's not hibachi, but it's like, you know how they do the performance when they serve the food or whatever. And he has like meat on a knife, and he's like holding it in a sensual way in front of her face, and she eats it all slowly, and the boyfriend's sitting there like looking at her. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's kind of funny, man.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like things like that. I was having a discussion with my girlfriend. It's like people in this world and society, they'll try to throw. This is how people get tested often. Someone will throw a decision in front of you like that to make you decide if you're going to react on instinct or not. When people use people, they have these little tests that they use to see how vulnerable they are by seeing how is this person going to react if I say this, if I offer this, if I do this, if I do that. And if you give instantly, then they know that you're susceptible to that type of offer. You know, it's temptation. So it's like, and the offer can be anything. I mean, it can be flirtation, it can be drugs, it can be food if you're on a diet. It's about how much control do you have of yourself. There are people out there that feed, and just like I said, the opportunists of the world. You know, like I said with the music industry,
Temptation.
they're seeking. Yeah. They have tests. If they find somebody that is solid and has knowledge of self and is balanced, they're going to steer clear of those people. They're going to find all kinds of excuses to not deal with those kind of people, you know, unless they can make money off of them, or unless they can, you know, or they might, if they do deal with them, they'll be more respectful than they would with somebody that's wet behind the ears, that's just coming into the game like doesn't know anything. So it's like,
because that's what it is. It's a game to them.
And that's the way it is. How I can tie that into social media is social media preys upon your lack of decision making, or it'll hit you before you have a chance to make a decision. Right? It slides in that little gap. You say, "Should I be watching this?" Click here to see. It's you know, there's some kind of, it must be of the right age to see. I saw that the other day on Instagram, and I clicked on it, and it was like a lion pulling the guts out of wildebeest or something and eating it while the wildebeest was still like moving around. I'm like, well, I could have dealt without seeing that. I mean, it's reality, it's nature. But sometimes you might see a shooting or something crazy, and it's like,
oh yeah, I remember something specific from high school, man. When the internet was first getting going, I was in high school like 02 to 06, that time frame, and we were in a print class with a good teacher named Mr. Hinkle, and I was like, dude, look at this video, and I remember never forget it. Dude's name was Nick Berg, and he was a journalist that was taken hostage by not ISIS, Al Qaeda maybe.
And the beheading video.
They fucking sawed his head off, dude. And I was in high school, so I'm like, guys, look at this. And even my teacher. And it was funny because I remember my teacher's face, but we watched it like 3 times, and I was like, whoa, dude, I've never seen anything like that. And my teacher was even wrapped up. He's like, whoa, and play it again. And we watched it again. Disgusted. But then I watched this feeling wash over my teacher's face. He's like, this probably isn't good to be watching. You know, and then he was like, nah, turn that off. Don't tell anybody about this. It like set in.
You're so enenamored by it when you first, it's like you're almost like frozen. You know?
Yeah, shock. A lot of people get addicted to that shock factor. And and then you're at the mercy of however people. Yeah, I don't watch horror movies. I know a lot of people have the thing watching horror movies, but I'll watch a movie that's kind of sinister that has a dark plot every now and then. But I don't watch Jason or Freddy or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not afraid of it. I just don't want to let that energy into my core. Like I don't.
What you just said about horror movies lets you know that shock brings what? What does shock bring?
Money and all. Yeah. All the money. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man.
It's an emotional reaction. It's something that's gratifying to people.
Dude, it's been real great talking to you. I knew we'd have a good one, but I didn't realize I had a bunch of other stuff, but I think we're coming up on like an hour.
Yeah.
So, and it gets to be a bitch to upload after an hour, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
real quick, who was Mr. Boombox Art?
Mr. Boombox? Are you talking about
Yeah.
the alien? The
Is
alien?
that what it was? It was an alien?
Yeah, the alien thing. Like Planet Boom Bap had a whole story behind it, man. It was like we were
You created
basically.
a fiction? Yeah.
I wanted to do like I had this whole story. I was about to pay a dude to do a fucking comic book, Planet Boom Bap comic book, because the whole story was
I can see it already, man. Yeah.
there were these musicians that lived on this planet, right?
Yeah.
The musicians were my band, the actual band, the instrumentalists, right? They lived on this planet, and the rappers and the singer, we were astronauts. And when we come to this planet, we had to figure out how to communicate. So we used music to communicate, but it
That's
was more
sick.
detailed than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
That's yeah, please, bro. Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do, man, is I'm gonna try to I'm gonna get like a best of, and I'm definitely gonna have you on, like do a Zoom call with like 5 people and bring up
Right.
some topics, kind of like they're doing on Clubhouse right now. I haven't been on Clubhouse. I don't know
Right.
how that works, but I'd like to have a meeting of the minds, as it were, like with some interesting people and bring up some topics and get everybody's individual response, and also kind of connect some artistic points in my life with some people that might be able to work together in the future. And
Right.
we can continue to be a community,
Yeah.
use the internet for a positive message, and kind of collaborate our art together, man. So it's really good to see after it's been 4 years, I think, since I met you at that club. But
Yeah.
shout out to Lamada Roundtree, excellent dude. I didn't
Shout
get
out to
to
Nate, Colby, and Zach,
right
and
on. Is there anything you
Golden
want to
Brandy.
plug?
Yeah, man.
Your
Just
album. Yeah.
yeah, Messiah-complex.com.
I will link
Uh,
it up in the description.
New album, and just look for Merkabah, Messiah Complex, wherever you can. Medicine Music, METASIN, Medicine Music. That's my production brand. So you're gonna see that. I just did a song for Solomon Childs of Wu-Tang called On the High. It's got like 15,000 plays on SoundCloud. So
All
I
right.
think we should put that on the radio soon. I don't know.
Cool, dude.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang. Bong bong.
Yeah. Right here.
All right. Yeah, no, that shit's flashing while you're on screen, dude. It's dope. I gotta get one. I need to get a Wu-Tang shirt. Did you see my Funkadelic shirt?
Yeah.
You ever
Funkadelic.
listen to Maggot Brain?
Maggot Brain. Yeah, I got
Oh
that.
my
I got
God.
that.
I just found out about that a year ago, and I've been nonstop on this George Clinton Parliament deal. You know, like the whole. I didn't know anything about that.
No, Redman's album cover was inspired by that. His There Is a Dark Side was inspired by Maggot Brain.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Maggot Brain's just amazing. He's like on the level with Hendrix. But all right, man. Well, it's been real good talking to you. I will get with you soon about that group meeting. But thanks for coming by and kicking it. And
Appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Nice seeing you. Nice talking to you.
Yes, sir. Much love, bro. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording now. We'll talk a little after.
All right.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Peace out.